What is good, guys? Welcome to the channel. Today, I am going to be telling you the exact process I use to help my clients completely eliminate anxiety and self-sabotage. So, without further ado, let's get right into it. What if I told you that the anxiety, stress, and unease you feel are not random? That it's not just some personality flaw or something that you just have to live with forever, but that it's actually a predictable, solvable problem. You probably think, if you're anything like me, that it has something to do with your work, your relationships, or you just think that something is wrong with you. None of that is true. What if I also told you that the anxiety isn't the actual problem, the self-sabotaging isn't the actual problem, but that both of these are symptoms of an underlying pattern running in the background of your mind that are keeping you stuck in a state of survival. And until you remove that pattern, the best you will ever get are fleeting moments of relief, behavior changes, only for your symptoms and behaviors to return. Now, every time you feel overwhelmed, every time your thoughts spiral out of control, every time you hesitate on doing what you know you should do but not doing it, this is happening because your subconscious mind is being run by programs that are ultimately designed to keep you safe, but they're backfiring. So although those are well intended, they're crippling your ability to make more money, to feel more peace, and ultimately, they're lowering your quality of life. That's the real cost of what's going on here. So until these programs are removed, you're going to stay stuck in these loops of anxiety, stress, and self-sabotage. And that is exactly what I help people eliminate for good. Now, before getting into this, it's important to note that there are people who this is for, and there are people who it is not for. Let's start with the former. This is for you if you experience anxiety regularly, whether it's like full-blown panic attacks, which is what I was experiencing, or just a constant feeling of stress in your mind and in your body. If you feel like your mind never shuts off, like it's always running these worst-case scenarios in the background, keeping you stuck in overthinking. It is also for you if you struggle with self-sabotage, whether that's procrastination, avoiding difficult conversations, or not doing what you know you need to do. You've probably tried therapy, mindset work, breath work, meditation, calming supplements, performance hacks, whatever it is, but nothing has truly created that lasting change for you that you're looking for, which I'm assuming is why you're here. You know that you're capable of more, but anxiety keeps slowing you down, and it feels like there's just this invisible wall that you keep running up against. It's draining your energy, it's making you second guess yourself, and ultimately, it's placing a cap on the success and the quality of your life. Okay, that's who this is for, if you're someone who recognizes these patterns. Now, just as importantly, let's talk about who this is not for. This is not for you if you're looking for surface level solutions instead of deep transformational change. You'd rather keep managing your symptoms instead of eliminating the root cause of them. If you have a victim mentality, so in other words, you think that life is constantly just happening to you, not for you. You're unwilling to challenge the unconscious patterns in your life. You're not ready to take full ownership of your inner and outer success. Now that we got that out of the way, let's get into why nothing else has worked for you until now. The reason being is because most solutions only deal with symptoms of anxiety. So breath work, exercising, meditation, calming supplements, whatever. All of those can help manage your feelings of self-sabotage and anxiety, but they don't remove the unconscious patterns that are fueling those from beginning in the first place. All of these methods that I listed before, these coping mechanisms that I listed before, are rooted in one thing and one thing only: avoidance. This negative thought pops up, oh, I need to avoid it with breath work. I need to get my mind off of it to feel better. Whatever the solution is in your mind, it's avoiding the problem. And if you're avoiding a problem, you're resisting the problem. And what you resist persists. Now, in an effort to keep us alive, our brain is wired for survival, not success. So if you've been stuck in these loops of anxiety, self-sabotage, stress, overthinking, whatever it is, the reason you're stuck in those loops is actually because your mind believes that those patterns are keeping you safe. So you've essentially been trained to avoid risk, danger, uncertainty, and change, even if it's costing you the life that you actually want. Because ultimately, all of those things that you want are unknowns for you currently, and our mind cannot predict unknown. and your mind perceives things that it cannot predict to be potential threats for you. And that is what your mind is literally designed to do, which is keep you far away from potential threats. So, I'm going to break down the real issue here. Most people spend their entire lives playing this long game of whack-a-mole with their self-sabotage, with their bad habits, with their anxiety, whatever it is. They're playing whack-a-mole, okay? A negative thought pops up, and boom, they hit it and replace it with a positive one. An uncomfortable feeling arises, boom, you meditate, you do breath work, you go to the gym, and you just wait till it goes away. Self-doubt kicks in. You wake up at 6 a.m. first thing in the morning and you rip 300,000 positive affirmations. Okay? Trust me, I used to do it too. There's no shame in it. I get it. You just want to feel better. You want to live better. No shame in that. Now, while these strategies might give you some temporary relief, they never actually solve the core problem, and you will have noticed this. So you're basically just reacting to a bunch of symptoms instead of addressing what the root cause is, which is why they're not going away. The moles just keep freaking popping up. There's no end to it. Now, I am not in the business of helping you manage your symptoms. That's not what I am here to help you do. It's very, very, very important you understand that. I teach you how to stop playing that game altogether. Instead of playing the game of whack-a-mole, we need to unplug the machine so you stop wasting all this time and energy on managing your problems. Instead, we eliminate it at the source. We unplug the machine. That way, you can take all of that new reclaimed energy and time that you would have spent feeling anxious on and self-sabotaging on and investing it into your business, your job, your relationships, traveling, just enjoying life. Whatever it is, it doesn't matter. You shouldn't have to be running around thinking the best you can ever do is managing and hitting all these moles for the rest of your life. Think about how much you're missing out on. All right? Unplug the machine, stop playing the game. Now, there are many significant costs to living with anxiety, to self-sabotaging, and all of that good stuff. But I've narrowed this down to the three biggest costs that not only were affecting me, but were also relevant and affecting the clients that I've worked with in the past. Cost number one, direct financial loss. Okay, think of this as the hidden tax to your success. It is. Anxiety isn't just something that feels bad. Self-sabotage isn't just something that sucks, okay? It directly limits your income, opportunities, and your ability to perform at your highest level. Okay, so something I want you to do is I want you to think about how often you've been held back, whether that's by feelings of stress, anxiety, nerves, self-sabotaging, okay? I want you to think of all of that. The pit in your stomach that prevents you from just having a conversation, nevertheless closing a deal. The racing thoughts that make it feel nearly impossible to focus on any of the responsibilities that you have in front of you. The feeling like you just need to survive and get through the day, when instead you could be like, oh my God, I'm alive. And I don't just have to talk myself into feeling grateful for that. I actually feel grateful and excited for the opportunity and the potential that's before me. Okay? Now, anxiety makes decision making much slower. It increases our hesitation and it leads to missed chances that could change our life, and it could change this mindset tweak that I'm talking about. Now, this reminds me of a story. And the reason it reminds me of it is because I just had this conversation today and it honestly freaking blew my mind. I was on the call with this kid who is 18 and he's a door-to-door sales rep doing pest control. Now, this kid is already seeing a lot of financial success in his life, but he's problem aware. Okay, so in other words, he's aware that anxiety is crippling and limiting his ability to make more money, to have more meaningful relationships, and just an overall better quality of life. And so I always run my clients through this exercise, and I decided to run him through this exercise as well. The exercise is this. I want you to assign a price tag to how much your self-sabotaging tendencies, to how much your feelings of anxiety has costed you. What is the dollar amount? Seriously, like right now, take out a freaking pen and paper or just write on your phone. Figure out what that dollar amount is, okay? Become very clear on that. I told him to do that. He paused for a moment and he looked at me after a few moments of silence and he said, probably $100,000. And then I sat in a moment of silence. You're 19 years old and you're aware that anxiety and self-sabotage have costed you $100,000. So seriously think about that. The inability for him to not feel panic or anxiety or get in his own way when he walks up to a door and he's about to go help somebody and sell them on his product or service, right? There is this block from preventing him from doing that. He has equated that the amount of money compounded over time that has cost him is literally six figures. He's only 19 years old and it's already costed him $100,000, probably even more if we're being realistic about it. Think about how much more that would cost him throughout his life if he never did anything about it. If he just kept kicking the can down the road and saying, yeah, it sucks, but I'm making good money, I guess. I'm not making great money, but I guess I'm okay with just being mediocre. Luckily, he's not okay with being mediocre. And it reminds me of another story that I'll share with you. It's very important. I was recently working with another guy who was also in door-to-door sales, who was literally days away from being fired because of weak performance. Okay, he was having a very tough time with this. When he originally came to me, he described his struggles. He said, I just feel like I can't stop getting in my own head about things. Like I doubt myself. I'm worried that I can't perform. I'm worried that if I can't perform, I'm going to fail. And if I fail, I'm going to get fired. If I get fired, I'm going to lose my income. And if I lose my income, then I'm going to lose my house. For those of you who experience anxiety, this sounds like freaking plain and simple English, baby. This is how the spiral of thoughts and worst case scenario goes, right? We're all probably fluent in this language, okay? We've all been here. It sucks, but it's just kind of how it is. So he was spiraling out of control with all these thoughts. And what this was doing is it was helping me understand what the core problem really was for him. Okay. So I wasn't over here recommending he read the new Tony Robbins or watch the new Alex Hormozy video or none of that. Okay. Now we had a session together. We identified the problem and we immediately got to the root of that problem and overcame it. Now, 2 days later, I got a text from him, and the text meant so much to me that I actually brought it here and quoted it so I can recite it to you guys. It reads the following, quote, "Good morning. I made $1,100 in bonuses yesterday, and I got added to the leadership development mid-quarter, which does not happen too often. All because I'm able to finally apply everything that's been taught to me in my job due to clearing my head a few weeks ago. This is beautiful work." End quote. Now, that meant a lot to me because one, I just genuinely am passionate about seeing people's lives improve after the work that we do together. It's just very moving. Now, something important I just want to put out here is that this client had all the tools that he needed. He didn't need another book. He didn't need another mindset hack. He didn't need another Alex Hormozy video or more knowledge or more information. He needed to understand what was keeping him stuck and ultimately remove it. Okay, deep change is not a process of addition. Deep change is a process of subtraction. And as you can see, once we subtracted the problem from his life changed as a result. Okay, his income skyrocketed, he got promoted, and as a result, his life changed. To summarize that up, cost number one, there's a direct financial loss that you're experiencing if you're going through anxiety and self-sabotage. Cost number two, you have a negative impact on your physical health. Now, I want you to visualize something. Most people have been living the majority of their lives with anxiety and self-sabotage, okay? Some level of it. Now, if that's you, think about this. You've already come this far. You might have already made some really good money. You might have already found the freaking love of your life, and you're pretty proud of what you've accomplished thus far. But here's the deal. You have essentially been going through life carrying 100-pound dumbbells in each of your hands. All the overthinking, all the stress, all the getting in your own way, that's the dumbbells, okay? Now you've come a long way, you've accomplished a lot, and you've gotten through a lot, and that's incredible. But think about how much further you could have gone if you weren't carrying all of that unnecessary weight. Like who would you be without this in your way? What could you accomplish without it? How would you feel if you could live the rest of your life without this? It is so important for you to become abundantly clear on that, not just to become consciously clear on it, but to feel into how good life would be in the absence of anxiety, stress, overthinking, that pit in your stomach, getting in your own way. It is so important to become clear on these things. Now, When you're in a constant state of fight or flight, it has very negative health implications on your body. Okay? Your nervous system is stuck in a survival mode. That much is already clear, keeping your body on high alert 24/7. This is because your brain believes that it needs to keep you prepared for a potentially deadly situation. Okay, so that's what anxiety is. Anxiety is your mind's way, your mind's response of saying, I think there is either an immediate threat to my survival right now, presently, or the second form of anxiety, which is I am preparing for an immediate threat. I am looking for an immediate threat that has a consequence on my well being. Okay, that is what anxiety is. Now, one of my favorite analogies to use is when you're a hammer, everything looks like a nail. Okay, if you're constantly looking for reasons to feel anxious, I mean, shit, just turn on the news in the morning. Okay, just read the freaking latest headline of how screwed we are. It's like every time I turn on the freaking news, which is not common anymore, it feels like I'm not watching the news. It feels like I'm watching 1,000 Ways to Die. You know, just being straight up about it. It feels like it's just constant negativity. And that's because honestly, it is. Fear sells. It's bullshit, but it is how it is, okay? Present form anxiety, future based anxiety is all trying to prevent this imminent threat from you, okay? Now, in modern life, that life or death scenario that you're preparing for or that you're bracing for almost never comes. Okay, for the majority, the overwhelming majority of our population, that situation never actually happens. Okay, but we're constantly bracing for it. So you ultimately are wasting all of this time preparing for this imminent threat that never arrives. Okay, think of all of that wasted time and that energy that could have otherwise been used towards chasing and achieving your goals, making more money, or just, I don't know, enjoying your life more, traveling, you know? Think about that. You know, hypothetically speaking, if you were a ship, this anxiety and self sabotage, all of these behaviors would be holes on the bottom of your ship. Sure, your ship might be going forward, but make no mistake about it, that thing is sinking and it's taking in water quick. Okay, that is us when we're operating from these states of negativity. Okay, so moving on with the health implications. Your body is flooding with stress hormones and it's disrupting your sleep. When your mind is convinced that it has a reason to be on high alert, do you really think that it's going to let you get a great night of sleep? No, it wouldn't be doing its job if that was the case, right? So a lot of you will have experienced worsened sleep because of how much stress and anxiety hasn't been processed and just let go of. This is normal. And guess what? You still got work in the morning. You still got to show up. You still got your business to run. Whatever it is, life goes on, right? So now you wake up in the morning feeling exhausted, even though you might have even slept 8 hours. It doesn't feel like you slept anything. You have brain fog. You can't think straight. You can't execute on any of your decisions. You can't handle any of your responsibilities for the day, let alone be creative or problem solve. You see the point I'm getting to here? It's keeping you stuck in these loops of exhaustion, right? Because then that just compounds. It's like a snowball effect. That's stressing you out so much you can't help but think, Jesus, you know, like, does this ever end? You know, like, is the best I can ever get just these moments of fresh air after I meditate or exercise or grind? You know what I mean? And obviously the answer is no, that's not the best you can ever get. Of course it can get better. You know, I used to have crippling anxiety for over a year of my life. Like that's being conservative on that estimate, by the way. I literally would wake up in the morning and immediately feel like my body was in a state of panic. I would have a panic attack. Okay? I tried it all. I tried therapy. I tried meditation. I tried breath work. You know, I went to a brain scan doctor, okay, because I thought something was just straight up wrong with me because nothing else was working. And I was at the most freaking hopeless, helpless pit of despair ever. And I'm here to tell you there is a light at the end of that tunnel. Just hold on. Okay, I got you. Hold on. Moving on with this. Sorry for getting sidetracked. I just love this shit. Gut issues. Many people who experience prolonged states of anxiety will also experience gut issues. Why? Well, when you're stuck in fight or flight, your blood needs to go where? Arms and legs. So I can either fight and square up or dip and run as fast as I freaking can. Okay? Now that's a pretty sick response that our body has to survive. And it's really great for short-term survival. But as you can probably imagine, it is not meant for long-term living. This heightened state of reality becomes our baseline over a long period of time, and it's not supposed to. Our bodies aren't designed to be always in fear, right? Like, how does that even make sense? Of course we're not. What happens when our blood flows from our gut, from the center of our body to our extremities, our arms and legs, is that blood flow stays away from the gut for too much time. What does this do? What does this even mean? This impedes our organs' abilities to function properly. Additionally, what's going on is when you're anxious, you have your focus fixed on one thing and one thing only: surviving. Your body's energy cannot be used for things like digestion. Okay, our mind's energy and capacity cannot be used for things like creativity and motivation and problem solving and closing deals and getting through the workday. Okay, all of those things take a way lower place on the totem pole because your mind is freaking convinced that you're constantly not going to be okay or that you're constantly not safe, right? That's what's going on. Okay, so there you have it. Now you basically just earned yourself a PhD in psychology and learned the three major costs that this problem is having for you. You have one, direct financial impact; number two, negative health implications; and number three, a worse quality of life. I mean, shit. I don't know about you, but that is just way too damn expensive for me. Now, getting into the moment that you've all been waiting for, without further ado, I am going to break down the actual process that I use to help my clients completely eliminate their anxiety, their self-sabotage, and their stress so that they can end those cycles once and for all. This is my three-pillar solution, starting off with pillar one: understanding your history. Before we can solve the problem, we must first understand the problem. So we identify why anxiety is running in the first place, and then we bring awareness to the unconscious beliefs that are allowing it to perpetuate, that are keeping you stuck. Okay, so we must first understand its history in order from allowing it to repeat again. That's pillar number one. Pillar number two: removing its fuel source. Anxiety is a deeply, deeply ingrained response in your subconscious mind and in your nervous system. Now, in my approach, we will go through a process of dissolving the subconscious program that is fueling this heightened state of anxiety and the behaviors of self-sabotage, of you always getting in your way. This is the most critical step of the process. Why? Because it's the catalyst and the spark to transformation. And it's very important for me to clarify something right here. This work is not a process of becoming someone or becoming something. It is a process of unbecoming. Okay? It is a process of removing what is in the way and who is in the way of who you truly are, right? Because who you truly are is someone who is at peace, someone who is fulfilled, someone who is on a mission, okay? Someone who is capable of earning an incredible income. That's who you actually are. That's who exists underneath all of this noise. And that's what we're doing here, removing the noise so that who you actually are can just naturally emerge. You have this beautiful flowing river, but there's this big, giant, ugly dam blocking its flow. In pillar number two, we remove the dam, okay? And your natural flow returns. And when that happens, your productivity, your peace, your ability to create something that you're proud of and feel deeply fulfilled, your quality of relationships, your ability to make more money skyrockets because you can finally be present. You're finally who you actually are, not someone who's anxious, not someone who is depressed, not someone who keeps getting in their way. All of that is not really who you are. If you get anything out of this, I want you to get that. If you're stuck in these states, that does not mean that's who you are, okay? And you're not going to accomplish removing that by adding different things to your life. You need to subtract things from your life. That's how you accomplish that, okay? That's pillar number two. Moving on for the third and final pillar, we have maintaining your freedom. So once the anxiety and the patterns of self-sabotage are gone, we need to make sure that it stays gone. So we reinforce your ability to operate with clarity, confidence, and ease so you never fall back into the same patterns again. This is where you get used to walking around as this new person, Because make no mistake about it, when you let go of the stories that are keeping you stuck in anxious patterns, sabotaging patterns, finding every freaking reason in the world to feel anxious, you feel like a completely different person because you are a different person, right? Your perception dictates and determines your reality. And if you're no longer looking for reasons to feel anxious, miserable, living in states of limitation and lack, your entire reality changes. And as a result, you change. Okay? Very important to understand that. I want to make no mistake about this. This is literally a journey to your soul. Okay? This is how you close that gap that's been bothering you so much. The gap of who you are now and the gap of who you are trying to become and who you have been trying to become. That's what this is. So if you're still watching, number one, I appreciate you. And number two, you already know what anxiety is costing you. You see how it's limiting your potential and capping it. You know how it's draining your energy and keeping you stuck in these cycles of self-sabotage. So now you have a choice. You can keep trying to push through, hoping that discipline and willpower will fix the same thing you've been trying to do for ages, or you can remove the root cause of what's keeping you stuck and experience the level of peace, success, and confidence that most people never reach. I work with high performers who are ready to make that shift. So if that's you, I invite you to click the link below and schedule a call so we can remove what's in the way from you closing that gap. I look forward to speaking with you. Thank you for watching. I hope you learned something today, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Peace.